You know, for the last 2 weeks, I've been thinking, Troy, what do you really feel about Iron Man 3? And it keeps coming back to me. It's this thing about it, and I can't quite put my finger on it unless I analyze it from the ground up. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to analyze Iron Man 3 as a whole from the ground up. Let me make it clear, though, I do not hate this movie. I don't think it's a particularly bad movie. I just think I'm a bit disappointed. It's definitely not better than the first two. And surprisingly, Iron Man 2 is my favorite movie. So, I'm a bit backwards. And The Incredible Hulk, I like The Incredible Hulk. Whoever doesn't, they're a bit, it has this, whatever. I'll get to The Incredible Hulk, okay? Alright, so let's just focus on Iron Man 3. The premise is Tony Stark must face his demons and defeat the rising threat that is the Mandarin. And that's how it pretty much was advertised. The trailers all showed it was going to be the most darkest Iron Man 3 movie. And it sorta is. It really is. And you could tell it's directed by a different, director, I got his name right here. Shane Black. That's the guy. And it's the first Iron Man movie not to be directed by John, if I'm reading this correctly. Probably not. And alright. It takes place like a year later. And like you get to see this world where the Avengers and aliens are real, gods are real, the Incredible Hulk's real, all that shit. And you get Tony Stark who's struggling to cope with that, and I really like that. They gave him post-traumatic stress, and I thought that gives him another depth to his character. And again, Robert Downey Jr. effortlessly plays Tony Stark, even more so in this one. He even plays around with the character a little bit. Maybe a little too much when he's with the kid, but I'll get to that. Now, it's just the way that it was directed, I think, more or less. I think everyone acted it the way it was written, to be honest. I think the writers, they're the ones to blame, not the actors or, the actors in general. I think the writers really fucked it up or didn't know what to do with this film. So it's loosely based on the Extremis storyline in the comic books. And that was all about this nanotechnology that it basically gave people superpowers. They gave them a healing factor, cellular regeneration. It would get your arm cut off, it would just grow right back. Pretty much how it is in the movies. They would have fire. They could generate fire and electricity from their hands, but it was really limited. And in this movie, they have that. The thing is, they never feel like they have to explain Extremis. Not once in this movie they explain what exactly Extremis is. They only assume that you're supposed to know what Extremis is. And if you didn't read the comic book, you're pretty much fucked. You don't know what the fuck Extremis is, because they don't feel like they have to explain it. In the trailers, they all pointed that Mandarin was going to be the main villain, and I thought Mandarin was going to be a main villain. And, spoiler alert, he's sort of not. He's not even a villain. He's just an actor. Yeah, I didn't like that twist whatsoever. Not that it was a bad plot twist. It was a really good plot-wise. It was really good. It made sense why Audra Killian wanted to focus on somebody else. I get that. That's brilliant. It's just that why the Mandarin? The Mandarin could have been a great opportunity to introduce the supernatural into the Iron Man universe, or the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It would have been a great opportunity, but they didn't. They missed that opportunity. And I hear for Phase 3, they're going to try and bring in Doctor Strange. And by Phase 3, we've already been used to the scientific and sci-fi of this universe. So they should have did it early where they had the 10 rings. And even then, the 10 rings in the comic books aren't really magic. They're made by aliens. Which is stupid. That's really dumb by the comic books. Aliens, yep. That's what the 10 rings really are. They're alien technology. So the Mandarin, in the beginning of the movie, the Mandarin is played so well. He's played so sinister that I heard the criticism about the Mandarin prior to actually seeing it. And the first, half hour, I was like, these people are crazy. How could they hate on this character? He's killing it. Ben Kingsley is just killing it as the Mandarin. And then when we get to the middle of the film, fucking film, where Tony Stark finds this guy in Miami, I'm like, no. I'm just in my seat, just no, they're not gonna do it. And they did it. He's an actor. And his first lines is, he's coming out the bathroom like, oh, you don't want to wait, don't want to stay in there for like 20 minutes or whatever. I'm like, fucking shit, they did it. They pulled it, they did it. They ruined that opportunity. So the real villain of the whole movie is Audric Killian, who in the comic books isn't really a big character. He's not even part of AIM. And in this universe, he's the CEO of AIM. And he created Extremis with this person named Maria or Myra or whatever. I don't really know her from the comic books. I don't really recognize her, but... So, he's the main villain. And the main thing about this movie is that it doesn't feel like it needs to explain anything. Like, there's these things in this movie where Audric Killian is portrayed to be the most powerfulest person with the Extremis virus. Why? Did he have it the longest? Does he have a stronger strain of the virus? They never explain that. And then you have characters who just show up just to say, I exist. Like Happy. Even though he probably has a bigger role in this movie, because he actually impacts Tony Stark. But really, the only thing he did in this movie was blow up. That's pretty much it. And he survived it. He was holding back. Other people would get that joke. What is else there to say about this movie? There's plenty else to say. I'm just a little bit jumbled up right now. I want to say so much in so little time. Let's get to the characters. Pepper Potts, I think in the other movies, she was just there to have Tony Stark to have a girlfriend. You know, like the superheroes, all of them have girlfriends. And if you look at them, all MCU, they all have their own girlfriends. Steve Rogers, Peggy, Thor, Jane Foster, all that. So it was natural that Pepper Potts, and she was the first one. It's just that in the movies, they never gave her that much to do. In Iron Man 3, she's actually part of the plot. Sort of. Until like the ending, where Audric Killian has feelings for Pepper. And they glance over that in the beginning of the movie where he's showing her his big brain. It's a hologram, and he's showing her brain, his brain. I'm fucking it all up. And that's all cool and dandy, but then you completely forget about that, and then they bring it up towards like right before the climax. Like, I'm making you I'm giving you an Extremis virus, so we could be more. You know, we could be boyfriend and girlfriend, superpower boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm like, I forgot all about that fucking subplot. I forgot all about it. And that's... Alright, so the thing I like about this movie, before I go any further, before I actually convince you guys that I don't like this movie, I do. I really like it. I don't really like it. I like it at the most. It's a decent movie. It's just that this movie has such a weird sense of humor. It's almost like Michael Bay, almost. Where, like, he doesn't... I keep fucking his name. Shane Black, he doesn't know when to put the jokes in. Like, there's this point where Tony Stark is losing everything. His house is getting blown the fuck up because there was a stupid moment where he actually gave the terrorist Mandarin his address. And I kind of threw my hands up, you know, at that scene. I was like, what the fuck? Tony Stark's supposed to be this genius and he gives the terrorist his address? What the fuck? So, like, it was this moment where you're supposed to feel for Tony Stark. You know, Jarvis is offline. He's malfunctioning. He's not thinking properly. The Mark 42 suit is broken. I mean, it's pretty much fucked, like it is for the rest of the movie. It pretty much does nothing. And Tony Stark, he's just, it's kind of cold out here, because he's, like, in Colorado or something. I fucked it up, like Kansas. Like, it sure is brisk out here. Let me get back in the suit. And, like, it's such a out-of-place line, you know what I mean? The humor in this movie is very out of place, especially when Tony Stark's with the kid. And with this kid, he's, like, halfway through the movie, and you're supposed to hate this kid. You're supposed to not like him. He's annoying, and that's why Tony Stark acts like a dick to him through the movie. And it's like, Tony Stark breaks into this kid's house, starts using his shit, and then this kid has like no family whatsoever. So like Tony Stark's just making fun of him for that. Like he's like, oh, stop being such a pussy and just, you know, drag yourself up from your bootstraps. And like, that is not what you say to like little 6, 7-year-old who lives by himself, who's surviving by himself. He could probably be a better Tony Stark than you when he grows up, if he's surviving this well. And he just acts like an asshole to this kid for the longest. And I'm like, this kid's not even that bad. He's I feel for this kid. He's going through some shit. I thought Don Cheadle was very good in this movie. Yeah, I just flipped the script like that. I thought Don Cheadle was really good as Iron Patriot or War Machine. Even though he doesn't do that much as Iron Patriot, he does more without the suit. But there was this really funny moment where I honestly laughed. Is when they Audrey Killian would just rip burning him out the suit. He comes out the suit, he punches this guy. Even though the Extremis virus, it wouldn't work because they're super strong, and Happy punched one of them. It did absolutely nothing. And he knocks him out for a little, locks him down. And Audrey Killian just breathes fire. Just breathes fire. And Rhodey, Don Cheadle's like, you breathe fucking fire? And it's like, it's not that funny when I'm saying it out loud, but it's probably the only funny thing in the movie that I actually found really humorous. And that was that. The climax was really good when he summons all his armors, this whole Iron Man army, and they're just fighting more extremist people. But the suits are portrayed so flimsy in this movie. They're so fragile. There's this point where like Mark 42, the Prodigy son and Prodigy child, gets hit by a truck and completely falls apart. Just completely. And then, like, when they're about to fight the main villain, Killian, this suit comes out of nowhere all busted up, and, like, it trips before it gets to Tony Stark, and it's, you know, it just disassembles. And that's all this suit does, is disassemble. That's all it does, is disassemble. And then, there's some things that don't make sense. The Extremis virus is portrayed that, like, there's this guy that gets his face half blown off and like it regenerates back. It's really inconsistent because Tony Stark kills this very same guy by like shooting him through his chest and he dies. There's no regeneration for that part, but they never explain it. Audrey Killian, like, he summons the Mark 42 suit on Audrey Killian and blows him the fuck up. Later on, Pepper Potts is infected with the Extremis virus. She beats him by what? Blowing him up. He's dead from being blown up. Same thing what Tony Stark did, but more extreme by actually, you know, giving him the suit and detonating it and blowing him up. And he survives it, but like a little grenade that she kicks blows him up and he's dead. Or we think he's dead. He's defeated for now. Which I hope he doesn't come back, because it would be cool if actually someone died in the MCU. And the ending is really bad. The ending is really bad. It's like they had to wrap it up in like 5 minutes, so they're like, oh, Pepper Potts was cured of the Extremis virus. All I needed was a little tinkering. Oh yeah, I took the shrapnel out of my chest, even though it powers my suit, and I like it, but I want to be normal now. I'm still Iron Man, but I'm not. And I'm like, is he Iron Man or not? I mean, like, they never say it. They say Tony Stark will return, but what? I'm so confused at that ending. And the credits, the post-screen credits, whatever you want to call them, is so pointless. You turn off the video right now if you don't want to know it, but I'm saying right now, it is not worth it. Alright, 1, 2, 3, I'm about to blow your mind. After 5 minutes of credits, this whole time, it's Tony Stark is just talking to Bruce Banner, like he's in a therapy session, and that's the whole thing. And Bruce Banner fell apart in the very beginning of the story, where he's in the elevator, and Bruce Banner is like, oh, I'm not for this. I'm not that type of doctor. And Tony Stark he's all butthurt about it. And that's the ending of the movie. That's our lead to Phase 2. So the more I talk about it, the less I have nice things to say about it, because it's not that great. It's not that great. But I'm really looking forward to Thor: Dark World and Man of Steel. So I'll do a review. And next up is the Fast and Furious 6 review coming to you. So stay tuned. The Fallout Kid 13, straight to your hearts.